Welcome. Yesterday I went to what might just be the single most expensive thrift store and Goodwill in the United States. And the reason I went up there was because I have an eBay store and I wanted to just check it out. I hadn't been there before, see if I could find stuff that I could sell profitably online on my eBay store. And this is what I ended up getting. I thought it was a pretty good trip. It was a smaller store than I expected. It was a little bit busy, so I didn't end up actually getting any footage there. But what we'll do is I'll go through the pieces one by one with you here. And then I'll also do my best to pull up a couple comps. I'll do it on my phone, so it's not going to be super fancy. But what I'll do is I'll walk through my logic of what I paid for each piece, what I expect to sell it for, why I bought that piece, and also kind of what my expected timeline for each item to sell is, because obviously sell-through rate and the velocity of your sales, how quickly things sell, is something that you really want to be mindful of to maintain cash flow in your business. So with that in mind, let's get into it. We're going to start with something fairly simple here. It's a sneaky find that if you don't necessarily know materials that well, you might actually be missing out on a bunch of money. So this right over here is an Eileen Fisher, very basic, simple kind of teal blue woman's size medium. I paid $9.99 for it. Higher than I would like. The reason why I was willing to pay that much was because it's 100% organic linen. So the first lesson for today is going to be pay attention to materials. Linen, silk, cashmere, merino will automatically mean that something is a little bit more desirable than something that's just like a polyester or a rayon, etc. Now, Eileen Fisher is a strong brand. I would expect that this will sell for right around like the $29.99 free shipping. So not the best piece in terms of, oh, I'm going to make all the money in the universe on this. After shipping, I'll probably make maybe $12 to $15 on this. But another thing that is really important is Eileen Fisher, especially their linen pieces, sell really, really fast for me, usually within just a couple of days. So when I'm trying to go ahead and make my money back, because as you'll see, there's going to be a couple pieces here that might take a little bit longer to sell, I really love having stuff like this where my margin might not be as big as some other pieces, but at the same time, I know it's going to sell so quickly that it makes it worth my time. This next one is similar. Unfortunately, this doesn't have a material tag in it, but this is an Eileen Fisher Petite. And that's another lesson that we'll talk about. Whenever you have a sub-designation on a brand, you're probably looking at something that might be worth a little bit more, even with a relatively basic mall brand sometimes. So this right over here, I checked and it does not have an inner style tag. I would guess is just a very basic kind of light teal, aqua, green dress. Very simple. A lot of the Eileen Fisher stuff is very basic. I would say this feels like it might have a specialty material to it, but without the style tag, I'm not going to designate that. Again, this is the kind of thing where it's a strong brand, so I'm more than happy to get it. And because it has that designation, the petite designation, I know that means that it's going to be something that people are actively looking for. I paid $8.99 for this. Again, I'm guessing that I would sell this for about $29.99 free shipping. This is the kind of thing where people would be paying maybe $70, $80 plus new at Nordstrom to get this. So will they buy it secondhand on eBay for $30, 100%? Next up over here is a brand that you want to be a little bit careful with. It's one that sounds high-end, but oftentimes their basics don't really sell the way that you think they will. So this is Peter Millar. It's a great brand. Lots of like kind of golf, outdoorsy themed stuff. Not outdoorsy in like a hiking kind of way, but more of like a golf kind of way. So this is a pair of navy performance shorts. I think they're the Element. Now, if this was just a basic pair of Peter Millar shorts, unless I had gotten them for a couple bucks, I probably wouldn't buy them. But this is the Peter Millar Wicking. Again, it's the sub-brand designation, the sub-designation. So with Peter Millar, if you find like their Crown, I think they have a couple designations within the, I think Crown Crafted is one. Wicking is another that's pretty decent. So if you find ones with the sub designation, you're usually doing pretty well. It's a pretty solid size. It's a men's 34. This is probably a 9-inch short. I'd have to double check the inseam. Good size, good style, very basic. I paid $9.99. Probably, again, a little bit higher than I would like to, but again, I would expect these to sell within a couple weeks for about $29.95 free shipping. This next one is one that I have actually not found before. It is a men's golf polo brand by the name of Johnny O. I've seen people mention this on a couple of videos, but I have not actually found it myself. It's kind of like a pink striped polo shirt. I paid $9.99 right there. I would probably list this at maybe somewhere in the $30 to $40 range. A lot of their basic single color ones are selling for around $29.95 to $35, so I'd probably list this at around $39.95, see if it gets some visibility, see if I get some offers, or can send out some offers, and if it doesn't, then I might go down to $29.95. Again, it's the kind of thing where it's a great brand, it's a very strong brand with very strong sell-through, so I'm not as worried about like maximizing the margin on each item with this because I know that the sell-through is strong and it'll be in and out pretty quick. And you'll notice that's a theme with a lot of the pieces that I picked up. Next up, this is a brand that I don't really know that well, but I think I got these for fairly cheap. Yeah, so these were $6. And actually what I'll do is I'll look up the comp with you right now. And these are just basically like a pair of slip-on, like Keds style. The brand is Grasshoppers. I think they're actually a Keds sub-brand. And these are a woman's size 7, which is kind of right in the middle for women's sizes. So the first thing that we want to take a look at is if I search up Grasshopper shoes size 7, it might be hard to see, but you can see that there's 162. Sorry if I was a bit close to the microphone there. There's 162 listed. Now if I go filter on the side over here, pop out the filter and scroll all the way down, hit see more, and go to sold items, I can see that there's 35 sold. So it's not necessarily the best sell-through rate. I'm probably going to have these here for maybe a month and a half to 2.5 months. Although it's summer and it's a summer shoe, so it might go a little bit quicker. But you can see with the prices, you can see this size, this brand has sold for $26.99 plus shipping, $20 plus $15 shipping. I don't know why that would be $15 shipping. You could send these as probably a pound. And these I think are canvas shoes as well. That's another keyword. $16.99 plus shipping, $24.99 plus shipping. So I probably will list these at like $27.95 free shipping. Will they go right away? Who knows, but for $6 can't hurt. Next up, this doesn't have an exact year on it, which is a little bit unfortunate. But this is a vintage Washington Redskins hat with the old Redskins logo. Obviously now they're the Washington Commanders, although I heard that they might actually be having some copyright issues with that name, so that might change. But this is a just old school Washington Redskins snapback hat. Obviously there are reasons why the name was changed, but there are going to be people who are going to want it with the old name. It's on an old Twins Enterprise tag, and then on the other side has the NFL official licensed tag. Very basic hat. I got it for $5.99, as you can see right there. I would expect that this would sell probably for like $19.95 free shipping. I might list it at $24.95, but there's actually a lot of these listed when I last checked. They do sell, but I don't want to price too high so that nobody actually sees it. So I'm guessing I'll probably list this at $19.95 free shipping. Next up, and now we're going to talk about how do you figure out something when you don't know what it is. Now, not every brand is going to be able to do this, but this brand, you will, usually. This is a brand called Free People. You've probably heard of it. And this is a button-up woman's jacket. It's got some ruffles at the bottom there. The thing is, one of the things with Free People is that you really need to know the actual name of the item unless you're really good at describing things. And this is a style of coat that I don't really know the exact name of. Feel free to help me in the comments below. But The thing with Free People is that when you know the actual name of it, it helps a lot because they have so many styles that come in and out of season and only come out for one time. So sometimes some of their stuff that is actually not being made anymore can be very collectible. And this is one that kind of falls into that category. Now, if you look on the inside, so obviously you're going to have the company tag with the sizing up here, but with most clothes, you're going to have a material tag on the inside. So if you look on the inside tag, with Free People specifically, there's always going to be a number that starts with OB. So this is OB1557704. And boom, just looking that up, the Free People Ruffles Romance jacket. If I wanted to, I could see that right over here on Revolve. It's listed at $168. So I looked at the sales history. I'm not going to pull it up on eBay. If I remember correctly, pre-owned, it was going for somewhere in about the 70 to maybe 90 range. Maybe it was 60 to 90. Don't quote me. I don't know what I'm doing. This is the kind of thing where at first, and you'll understand why I'm saying this in a second. At first, I was like, no way that I'm buying this. But then because I knew how to find the style name, because I knew how to find the exact name of the product, the price wasn't as big of a concern. So for this, I spent $29.99 on it. Again, it'll sell for somewhere in like I think it was higher than 60. I think it'll sell for around 90, give or take. This is going to be the kind of thing where I'm going to have to sit on this for a little bit. So that's why it's nice to have some items where the sell-through is really, really fast, even if your margin isn't that great. Because as we talked about, I already had 3 or 4 items that I know are going to sell within just a few days of me listing them. So if this sits on my store, if this $30 item sits on my store for a month or two, however long it takes, I'm okay with that because I've already covered the cost of this and probably profited elsewhere. So if you are going to be buying stuff that sells a little bit slower, usually the more high-end stuff will sell a little bit slower, you just want to make sure that when you're actually buying, you make your money when you buy, not when you sell. So when you're actually buying, you're not only buying items that have really slow sell-through, even if they're really high-end items, that you're buying items within your purchase that will sell quickly, that will have that higher sell-through rate so that you're able to actually buy something like this and let it sit for the time that it needs for the right buyer to come along. So this next item is one where there's a couple interesting things about this one. First of all, it's a brand that you think will do well in one area that actually does really well in another area. And second of all, it's a design that if you don't necessarily know how to label it, you could be missing out on a bunch of money. So the brand is Adriana Goldschmied, AG. Sells for a lot of money at Nordstrom, usually about $160 new. But this is actually a men's pair of pants. The really interesting thing that I've noticed, and don't quote me on this, if you can sell it, you can sell it. That's perfectly fine. But the really interesting thing that I've noticed with Adriana Goldschmied is actually, I think their men's pants, at least in the secondary market, seem to sell a little bit better for me than their women's pants. Even though when you think of, at least for myself, when I think of the brand, I think of it as primarily a woman's brand. But for some reason, I find that their men's pants seem to sell a little bit quicker for me. And for a little bit more money, too. So this is a pair of Adriana Goldschmied. The nice thing is about them is they usually have the style name right over here. So this is the Everett Slim Straight. So it's very easy to identify them. You don't have to do that whole, I'm going to track down the code and look it up the way that we just did with the Free People item. This is men's 38. I'd have to check the inseam. I'm not going to do that right now. Men's 38, $12.99 was how much I paid for it. But remember how I said that if you don't necessarily know clothing designs that well and clothing styles that well, you might actually miss out a bunch of money on this. Now, you could probably just list this as is for about $29.95 and you would make your money, spend $5 or $6 for shipping, ship it first class, and you'd be perfectly fine. You know, you doubled up, no big deal. However, it might be hard to see this on the camera. Let's take a look. There we go. The design is actually houndstooth. So houndstooth, herringbone, etc. are different shapes that something can be sewn in. And so if you look, houndstooth has these little jagged, almost like teeth. and is a very strong keyword because there are some people who look for specifically that design. Now, just because this is, one, it's a strong brand, strong-ish brand, could be better, but also it's got the houndstooth design. Also, it's a little bit on plus side, which means that it's probably more likely that the person buying it is going to be looking for a specialized thing, because they're probably not going to find it in store as often. But the thing is, because it has that keyword in it, because it has the houndstooth keyword in it, automatically the value and the design, I mean, it is what it is. Automatically the value of this is probably up by another 10 to 15 bucks. So this is something where if I didn't know that, I probably would have listed it for $29.95. It would have sold within a week or two, maybe 3 or 4 weeks. But now I could probably list this for like $39 to $49. I'd have to double check the comps. In fact, let's do that together. So it's a little bit all over the place. It seems like there's a couple people who priced it a little bit lower. But you can see right over here is a pair that sold for $39.97. Might be hard to see. There's a couple people who sold it for lower. There's a pair right over there that sold for $44.95 or $99. There's a pair here that was best offer on $39.99, etc. And obviously, there's also pairs that have sold in the, like, there are people who sold it for like 15 or 29, but probably just because they didn't really check comps when they listed. This is the kind of thing where I probably would just find the highest comp, that $44.95 or $44.99, and I would match that with best offer, and I would expect that I would sell it for around $35. But again, you know, that's the kind of thing where you're able to, because you have a little bit more knowledge about the piece, you're able to kind of price anchor it a little bit higher, which means you can earn a little bit more money on it. This one was new to me. I had heard of the brand, however, I hadn't found it before. It's a brand called Faherty. It's kind of like a casual workwear, like almost like casual luxury workwear brand, I would say. You can see this is just a button-up plaid, organic cotton men's XL shirt. Nothing too crazy, but it's a great brand. This will probably sell in like the 30 to 40 range, give or take. And I paid $9.99 right there. Now, because you weren't with me in the store, what you're not seeing is that there's a lot of stuff that I passed up on. It's not like I walked in and these were the only things there, you know? Especially because this specific store prices stuff up so much. You know, there are other stores where I might be able to get like a shirt for $2. So there are brands that we're not seeing in this video that I may buy for like $2 to sell for 15 to 20. But in this specific instance, there was a lot of what I would call like the bread and butter stuff that I just was not able to buy because, as I said, this is probably the most expensive Goodwill in the United States. It's in La Jolla. It's in one of the most expensive communities. And because of that, they take a lot of stuff that should not be priced up and they mark it up to prices. And I was able to get a shirt like this Faherty shirt over here only because their pricing people did not know the brand. Because if they did, they probably would have marked it up even more than they did. And here's an example of a brand that they did know and they did mark up. This is a brand called Rhoback. It's like a men's luxury athletic, not like athletic like workout, but like athletic like I'm gonna wear something while golfing or, you know, maybe travel athleisure type stuff. Great brand, really strong sell-through, sells for a great price. But they know the brand. You can see the little dog on the front right there. I'll show the tag right over there, Rhoback. But they know the brand, and so this was something where they did price it up. It was $24.99. This will sell for approximately $70, give or take. It's a nice quarter zip design, you know, the kind of thing where, you know, you'll see guys wearing this all the time if they're going out golfing or maybe, you know, grabbing a beer after work or whatever it is, or maybe a combination of both. Very strong brand, very great material, feels really good. Let me actually see. Surprisingly, it's a nylon, polyester, and spandex blend. It doesn't really feel like that. It feels like there's something else in there. But overall, very strong brand. But that's an example where they actually knew the brand and it was priced up. So while I was there, they had 2 or 3 pairs of Rhone, RHONE shorts that were new with tags, and they had them priced at like $24.95. They sell for about $40 new, or $40 on eBay in $40 to $50 on eBay in new condition. And that was the kind of thing where, because they knew the brand and they priced it up so aggressively, I just couldn't buy it. I can't spend $25 on an item if it's only going to sell for $39.95 free shipping. You know, my shipping for a pair of shorts is going to be roughly $5. And then after fees, I'm making like $7. If I do that on a $10 item, it makes a little bit more sense. But for a $25 item, it didn't really make as much sense. But this is the kind of thing where, because it was such a premier location where they mark everything up, I really had to be careful with my buy costs with all of these items. This next one is a brand that you probably have heard of. And again, this is going to be something where we're going to be paying attention not only to the brand, which is a great brand on its own, but also to the material and how that can add value to it. So this is a Tory Burch dress. It's like a little sleeveless dress. It's got a nice little like kind of green pattern to it. I don't have a name for the pattern. I probably should. However, remember how I said that checking the inner tag for the materials? This is 100% silk. So this alone, just a Tory Burch dress, would sell for somewhere between $50 to $100. I paid $24.99 for it. However, again, paying attention to the materials, because of the fact that this is 100% silk, this will probably sell closer for $90 to $150. I'd have to double check. You know, very lightweight, very summery, definitely the right time of year to be selling this. But that's the kind of thing where if you're not paying attention to some of the details, you can miss out on a lot of money when you're buying. This is actually another great example of it, but maybe a little bit lower down on the chain. Tory Burch is definitely a premier luxury brand. So this is a fantastic brand called Torrid. So Torrid is primarily for plus size women. They even have their own sizing thing. You can see that it says this is a size 1. That actually means size 1X. Everything that they sell is plus size. They have some stuff where it goes up until I think 16, and then it goes over to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and all of those is 1X, 2X, 3X, 4X, 5X, 6X. Those are all plus sizes. Button-up accent on the front. I actually think, considering that this is plus size, this is probably actually a blouse or a top rather than a dress. But again, this is something where when you know some of the subcategories of a brand, you're able to sell it for a lot more. So this is something called the Torrid Super Soft Knits. Now, generally speaking, just a basic Torrid blouse will sell for about $20 free shipping, maybe $25 free shipping. However, their Super Soft Knits is one that has really fast sell-through rate. I've sold just absolutely plain black basic V-neck t-shirts of their Super Soft Knits for $20. So I would expect that something like this that's stylized and has a little bit of that like kind of boho almost aesthetic with the buttons in the front. I wouldn't say that the design is boho, but I can maybe use a floral keyword on it. This I would expect would sell for closer to $30. I paid $8.99. Again, I'm paying more than I want to with these, but I really just wanted to check out the store. I hadn't been there before, and so I wanted to see what it was like. The store is so small, I wouldn't be able to go there every week. There are some other stores that I go to that are big enough and have enough turnover with their inventory that I can go there, every week or even sometimes multiple times a week and maybe just do a few aisles and a few aisles. But this store, I probably would want to go there maybe no more than once a month. It would be kind of my guess. Maybe a little bit more frequently than that, maybe twice a month. But it's not a big enough store to be in there all the time. And also with their pricing, it's just hard to make it work just because, I got what might end up being like 15 to 20 items there. And I really, really had to kind of pick through the weeds in order to do that. This one is one that I didn't know. I don't necessarily know how quickly this will sell, but it was a nice style, and the brand had what looked to be some decent sales to it. I paid $8.99 for it. It is a Joseph Ribkoff kind of bodycon dress, long sleeve black dress. It's got this cool little zipper accent over here on the front, where if you wanted to potentially like maybe have a slit go a little bit higher, you could unzip it. Let me see if I can show that a little bit better. It's got a little bit of a cowl neck to it as well. This brand, also the sleeves can unzip a little bit if you wanted to potentially open up the sleeves a little bit. Overall, just, a very standard, simple kind of, bodycon cowl neck dress. Nothing too crazy. I looked it up online. It looks like this brand on the low end sells for around $30, but some of their pieces can sell for more than that. And, at the end of the day, I'm of the opinion if you're at the store and you find something that fits your kind of margin and fits what it is that you're looking for, then you might as well buy it. Worst case scenario, it's in your store and sells 2.5 months down the road. I don't think that this is going to sell super quick, but at the same time, it's something where when it sells, it will meet my margin. And again, that's why I was talking about, something like the Tord or the Eileen Fisher linen pieces are stuff that have such a high sell-through rate. The Roebuck quarter zip are ones that have such a high sell-through rate. They sell so quickly that it allows me to put a couple dollars into something like this, where sure, I might not necessarily be, and maybe even price this up a little bit and learn a new brand and see what that experience is like selling this brand, so I can know, last time that I bought this, it didn't get any views. It took 3 months to sell, 6 months to sell, whatever it is. Sure, the margin might be good, but I don't want to do that again. Now, there's no way for me to really know that. I can guesstimate the sell-through rate by seeing how many are listed and how many are sold, but there's no real way for me to actually know that until I actually buy it for myself and see how many views does it get per month, etc. So this is the kind of thing where I don't know this brand. I haven't sold it before. It looked like it had some fairly decent comps. The margin was right. Why not give it a try? This next brand is one where very solid bread and butter basic. It's Prana. It's kind of like a woman's yoga, athletic, outdoorsy brand. Kind of like a pink shorts. And this was $6.99. This is probably the most reasonably priced item there. I'm guessing that these will sell for like $19.95 or maybe $24.95, somewhere in that range. This is a solid brand. They have both men's and women's clothes. Both sell. Their women's, in my opinion, sells. I think actually like some of their men's like t-shirts have sold better for me than some of their women's stuff. But it's a solid brand. Your sell-through is going to be fine. Obviously you want to be careful about your buy cost. I wouldn't go too crazy with this brand. I haven't really found any pieces from them where it would sell for more than $25 to $30. But in terms of secondary market, but if you're getting it at the right price, then you can't really go wrong. This next piece is one, and I think it's my first time finding this. It's a brand called Reformation. This is a sustainable focused fashion brand from the LA area. This is kind of like a halter neck, button up, sleeveless top. It's also got the ribbed pattern to it. If you take a look, that would be called ribbed, which is a very strong keyword. I paid $4.99 for it. I didn't check comps on this. I'm guessing it will be somewhere in the 20 to 40 range, but I am not sure. Actually, let me just check. So yeah, I'm seeing that their sleeveless tops, their sleeveless ribbed tops are selling pre-owned in the, depending on the style, somewhere in like the $20 to $40 range. So that's kind of what I would expect. $5 for that, fantastic. And just a couple items left. This right over here is a brand called Opoly. I paid $12.99 for it. It's actually new with tags. It's like a corset or bustier mini dress. It's got like a nice kind of like salmon orangish, salmon pinkish color to it. This style is really in nowadays. If you follow anybody who's in like the social media fashion space, I don't know a ton about like this brand's origin story, but from what I understand about them, they are a social media fast fashion, not fast fashion. Like they're a social media fashion brand. Most of their growth has come from that. I don't know if they have any physical locations. I could be wrong. They might. But this is something where I'm expecting that this will sell. I paid $12.99 for it. I'm expecting that this would sell in the roughly 40 to 60 range, give or take. Just because a lot of like the corset bustier keywords are very trendy this summer, so you won't really be able to go wrong with it. And then last up, this is one that was new to me. This is like a little leather mini backpack. I'd have to size it, but it's fairly small. It's my hand. And the brand is Peta and Jane. I paid $5.99 for it. It just looked quality. Sometimes you notice it. You look at something and you're like, that just looks quality. And it's a nice little kind of like mini backpack. And this one's going to sell a little bit slower based upon what I saw when I was in this store, but it looked like there was comps for this brand in like the 40 to 50 range, roughly 30 to 50 range, give or take. So for $5.99, again, the kind of thing where it might not sell within the first week, but I'm more than happy to just it's fairly small, fairly late to ship. I'm more than happy to have it for a little bit until it sells. So, with that in mind, that was what my experience was like at what might just be the single most expensive Goodwill and thrift store in the United States. I believe that I was able to operate on about a 2 to 3 times margin for every item that I purchased. Some items it was a little bit slimmer, some items it'll be a little bit larger, but they'll sell a little bit slower. But overall, I'm going to be getting all of this stuff listed in the next day or two. I'm going to have the link to my eBay store down below, so if you see anything that you'd like, feel free to check it out. If you're watching this down the road and it's not available, feel free to check out some of the other items. And if you have any questions, if there was anything that you were unsure about, if there's anything that you possibly didn't understand throughout this entire video, feel free to drop a comment below with your question and I'll do my best to answer it. If I said something wrong, feel free to tell me that I'm wrong. This is all about having friendly conversation, sharing knowledge, and being helpful for each other. And I also want you to know that while this was in many ways branded as a luxury boutique, Goodwill, you don't need to go to the luxury boutiques in order to make sales. If you know materials, if you spend a little bit of time with brands, if you figure out where in your town the thrift stores are, what kind of discounts that they run when, and are able to check comps on the fly, checking stuff like sell-through rate. If there's 1,000 listed and there's only 10 sold, well, you know it's going to sell really slowly, even if it will sell for good money. Whereas if there's 100 listed and there's 200 sold in the past 90 days, and when you pull up the sold menu, it's in the past 90 days on eBay. So if there's 100 listed and there's 200 sold, you know that it's going to sell a lot faster. So that's the kind of thing where you don't want to lose money and you want to make sure that you have a decent margin. But that was the kind of thing where with some of these pieces, I was taking like a 1.5 or 1.5 times margin because I knew that it would sell so quickly. And that way I can get my investment back off of those items and let some of the larger items like that Free People jacket or like the Opali dress, some of the other stuff that will take a little bit longer to sell and are looking for a specific buyer, where with those, or even the Tory Burch dress, with those, I'm able to actually get my money out really quickly and then have the rest in there for profit. So that's the kind of thing where even if you don't know the brands, if you know where your thrift stores are, if you get a feel for their pricing, for when they run specials, what promotions they run, and for what kind of things you can expect in different parts of town, you should be able to find stuff pretty easily, even if you don't necessarily live in the biggest area. As long as you've got a few different thrift stores, maybe you've got a flea market, maybe you've got a Goodwill bins, whatever it is that you're able to. And really, it doesn't even take as much knowledge, because if you don't know something, like for example, let's go back to this shirt right over here. If you knew absolutely nothing about this shirt, this Eileen Fisher shirt, and you typed in Eileen Fisher t-shirt, and you saw that it was 100% organic linen, so if you put in Eileen Fisher linen t-shirt and check the soles, you would see that the sell-through rate was there. You would see what it was priced for, even if you knew absolutely nothing about it. So you don't necessarily need to know what it is that you're looking at, as long as you can identify how to describe it. And from there, you can build up that bank of knowledge in your head. Most of these items, some of them I did look up, most of them I didn't have to look up, just because I saw them and I knew them and I was able to go ahead and buy them. But that does take some time to get to. But I hope that this video has been helpful for you. I went to a couple other stores this week, so I might possibly do another video tomorrow morning with some of the other things that I got before I start getting all of these listed before the weekend. However, again, if this has been helpful for you, feel free to drop a comment below with some questions, what stood out to you, what was most helpful for you, what you didn't understand. And if there's something that you want me to make another video on, feel free to let me know, because that's really the point of this, is so that I can be helpful for you. If I do have one ask, obviously this is YouTube, so like, comment, and subscribe, share it with a friend if possible. I hope that you're having an absolutely wonderful day, and I'll see you next time. Peace.